We are going to start page Nun Gimel. We're going to go back a little, review a little what we learned last week. 2 lines from the bottom of page Nun Gimel, where it says Aval Avoida. The last word in the line is Aval. So the Perek over here is talking about the importance of learning Torah, doing mitzvahs, whatever. All our avodas Hashem should be with kavana. Kavana defined by the Alter Rebbe as avas Hashem and yiras Hashem. The motivation that your kavana is you're doing it out of a love for Hashem, out of a fear of Hashem. And in the beginning of the Perek, the Alter Rebbe talks about 2 different levels, 2 different madrigas in kavana. There's someone who serves Hashem with ava v'yira sichlis, a love and fear of Hashem, which is a product of his contemplation. And then there's ava v'yira, which is tivis. There's the instinctive, natural love and fear, and both of those are a neshama for any Torah which is studied or mitzvah that is performed as a result of that kavana, and elevates it to a high spiritual world. And moreover, to the Yud Sfiris, to the Elokus, the godliness which is within the world. It elevates it, that it becomes subsumed and one with Hashem. Aval, however, if someone serves Hashem without arousing, without awakening the fear and love of Hashem, afilu b'meichai, even not in one's mind, bebechinas gilui, it's not revealed even in one's mind. That's the lower level. The higher level is when the ava, the feelings are revealed within the heart. But this person, he's doing a mitzvah without any love and fear, even not in the mind. No love and fear, not even in the mind. The hainu. That means he didn't even make the effort lo'eired ha'ava hativis, to awaken the natural love hamsuteres believe, which is hidden in the heart. And this person did not make the effort lahitzia mahalam v'hastra halev, from its place of hiddenness in the heart, elagilu, and to bring it to a revealed state. Afilu b'moichay v'ta'alumais libi akapanim, should be revealed at least in the mind, at least in the the recesses of the heart. No, rather this person did a mitzvah, and the love and fear that he has, he nesheres misuteres believe kitol dasa, the avos Hashem that he has remains hidden in his heart like it was when he was born, as it was before he served the Eibishter. So bottom line is, what do we have? A person who did a mitzvah, or a person studied Torah, or davened, whatever it is, and no love and fear of Hashem. Okay, there's love and fear because you're a Yid. So every Yid has a love and has a fear, but that's hidden. That's hidden. Nothing was done in any way to reveal this love. Harei, says the Alter Rebbe, avodah zu, this avodah, nesheres lemata, remains down here, ba'ilam hapirut, in the world which is separated from Hashem, hanikras chitzonius or ilamus, or what is also known as the chitzonius ha'ilamus, the external elements of the worlds. Ve'ein ba'koyach, this mitzvah does not have the power, lalos, to go up, ulikalel b'yichudei yisbarach, and to be subsumed in Hashem's unity. Shehein, what is that? The Eser Spheres HaKadoshos, the 10 holy spheres. This mitzvah, or this Torah, does not have that ability to go up and to be elevated in the holiness of the spheres. U'kameshakasu b'tikunim, and as it says in Tikkun Yisrael, the belay dechilu rechimu, that in the absence of fear of Hashem and love of Hashem, loi parcha le'ela, a mitzvah cannot fly up above, v'layachla, and it cannot l'salaka, to go up, or l'meikam, and to stand kadam Hashem, before Hashem.
So where does it go?
And now the Alter Rebbe is going to point out that when it comes to Shaloi Lishma, until now we're talking about doing a mitzvah Lishma. In other words, until now, before today, we're talking about someone does a mitzvah with Lishma, with Kavana. Whether it's a Kavana of the world of Bria, Kavana the world of Yetzirah. We even spoke a little about the kavan of the world of Atzilus, which is the highest tzaddikim. But now we're talking about Shalei Lishma. So in Shalei Lishma, there are two different levels of Shalei Lishma. There are two ways that a mitzvah can be done Shalei Lishma. The first way, Shalei Lishma, is not, there was nothing wrong with what, you didn't think anything wrong while you're doing a mitzvah. But you also didn't think anything right.
What do you mean by that?
V'hainu, when we're saying Shalei Lishma, afilu imeni yesik Shalei Lishma mamish, we're not talking about necessarily that you're doing the mitzvah or you're learning the Torah, mamish Shalei Lishma for l'shum eze priya chas v'shalom. In other words, for some sort of ulterior motive. Ella, rather, K'mesha Kosov, as the pasuk says, V'atihi yirasam oisi mitzvahs anashim mulomada. The pasuk says that Hashem complains, the Navi complains, the name of Hashem, that the Yidden's fear of me is mitzvahs anashim mulomada. Mitzvah anashim mulomada means it's rote, it's habit. Right? It's the mitzvah. It's something. It's a learned behavior. What?
It's mechanical.
Mechanical. Yeah. Pirush meaning machmas hergel, that when if you do a mitzvah because you're used to it. Shehurgal mikad nusay, from when you're very young, you're already used to it. Shergilay velimday avi ve'rabbai, that your father and your teacher got you used to and taught you liras Hashem, to fear Hashem. To serve him. So therefore, when you wake up in the morning and you wash nagelwasser, you're not doing it for any ulterior motive. It's not any bad reason. But why are you doing it? Because I did it yesterday, I did it 2 days ago, and I did it 10 years ago and 20 years ago. That's what I'm used to. But ve'eni yesik lishma mamish, this is not lishma. Because what is lishma? Ki lishma mamish. Lishma, which means, what does the word lishma mean? Lishma means that you're doing it for the sake of the Torah, for the sake of the mitzvahs, for the sake of Hashem. After it's impossible, it's impossible to do lishma unless you have love and fear, at the very least, the natural love and fear. You have to have the natural love and fear, but revealed. In other words, taken out from the hiddenness of the heart, and revealed, at least in the mind. Just like you're not going to do something for your fellow, to fulfill your friend's will, unless you love your friend or you fear your friend. Think about that. You're not going to do something for your fellow unless you love him or you fear him. There's another option. Maybe you have Rahmanas on him, you want to do a mitzvah, but those don't apply to Hashem, right? You don't have Rahmanas. Right. And even Rahmanas really is just, Chassidus explain, Rahmanas is really a composite of love and fear. But bottom line is, in a normal situation, when I'm doing something, either I'm doing it for myself, and if I'm doing it for my friend, I'm doing it because either I love my friend or because I fear my friend. The same thing is when it comes to the Eibishter. If you're doing it for the Eibishter, it's because you love him or you fear him. It's impossible to do a mitzvah, lishma, for the sake of Hashem's name and truth. To do it solely because to fulfill Hashem's ratzon. And believe without zikarin v'seirus, without remembering and awakening ahavasei v'yirasei, without remembering and awakening the love for Hashem, the fear for Hashem, klal. It's impossible if you haven't at all awakened love and fear to do it. If you haven't done it, at least in your awakened the love and the fear, at least in your mind. So let's examine a little what we're saying over here. The entire time we're talking about, this is really, we started talking about this already in Perek Lamed Hey. What is a mitzvah? Why do we need mitzvahs? We're Yidden, we have neshamas, we're holy, right? Why do we need to have mitzvahs? And we explained that only a mitzvah represents bittul to Hashem. Because a mitzvah, and we're using the words of Tanya, which the Rebbe says many times, in a mitzvah there is no hester panim. Everything in this world hides Hashem. The only thing that doesn't hide Hashem is Torah and mitzvahs. Torah doesn't hide Hashem, and mitzvahs doesn't hide Hashem. Torah is Hashem's ratzon and His chachma, direct. There's nothing, there's no filters on it. This is what Hashem wants. And mitzvahs, when you do a mitzvah, you're just doing what Hashem wants. There's nothing hiding the fact that you are doing what Hashem wants. This is the fulfillment of the Ratzon HaElyon. So this is a place where Hashem can be manifest, Hashem can be revealed in Torah and mitzvahs, because there is nothing there to hide Hashem. There is no what's called Hester Panim. Everything else in the world is Hester Panim. Doesn't reveal Hashem. Torah and mitzvahs reveals Hashem. However, the act of doing a mitzvah, and the same thing is learning Torah, the act of doing the mitzvah, and even the act of studying Torah is physical. So that physical act doesn't hide Hashem. But because it's physical, this is something which we learned at length. We learned this already in last period. Because it's physical, so how much spirituality can be revealed already in the physical act? Minimal amount. So you want to add a neshama to the mitzvah. The neshama of the mitzvah gives it also a spiritual content. Not only that the act doesn't hide Hashem, but the neshama also should express that bittul to Hashem. The neshama of the mitzvah should express that bittul to Hashem. And then you have a perfect, beautiful mitzvah. Perfect, beautiful mitzvah. You have an act which expresses bittul to Hashem, and the neshama of the mitzvah also expresses that bittul to Hashem. So what is a neshama of a mitzvah that expresses bittul to Hashem? So that would be avas Hashem and yiras Hashem. Because the neshama of an act is the emotions that goes into it. So when you're doing a mitzvah, you're studying Torah, what emotion goes into it? So sometimes you can have a big geschmack in doing the mitzvah. But is Hashem part of that geschmack? The geschmack you're doing it, if you're doing it with a lot of chayis and a lot of islahavos and a lot of pleasure, so that's definitely a neshama to the mitzvah. But the point of the neshama is that the neshama of the mitzvah should be batul to Hashem, just like the guf of the mitzvah is batul to Hashem. Just like the action of the mitzvah is an act of bittul to Hashem, so the point is the neshama should also express that bittul. How does a neshama of a mitzvah express bittul? It expresses bittul by having, if the neshama of the mitzvah, if the motivation to do the mitzvah is one's love of Hashem and one's fear of Hashem, that's bittul. Why am I doing the mitzvah? It's not only that the act of the mitzvah, but all the feelings that are going into mitzvah also are, the Hashem, this mitzvah is for you. I'm doing it because I love you. I'm doing this mitzvah because I fear you. If you don't have that kavanah when you're doing a mitzvah, if you don't have the avan yira, the avan yira are very important. That's what adds the spiritual bittul element to the mitzvah. Then the mitzvah stays down here in this world. Now here in the world, does it reveal Hashem's ratzon? Yeah, here in the physical world, but it can't go up to higher spiritual world because it doesn't have a spiritual neshama which expresses the same idea. It doesn't have the neshama because you don't have that mitzvah. Doesn't have the neshama that ava v'yira. So therefore, if a person does a mitzvah, we're getting here to the crux of the Perek. A mitzvah without a neshama, the mitzvah stays down here in this world. It doesn't go up. It remains a physical mitzvah. Now, does that mean it's not a mitzvah? It's still a mitzvah. Does this mitzvah reveal Hashem's ratzon? Yes. Are you making a dir b'tachtoinim with this mitzvah? Yes. But the mitzvah is missing its spiritual content, which allows it to go to a higher world because it doesn't have a spiritual neshama, a spiritual bittul backing it. In fact, we have this upcoming Sunday is Shavuos, and Shavuos is the yard site of the Baal Shem Tov. And the story is said that the Baal Shem Tov once came to a shul or a beis medrash, and he stood at the door and he stopped and he says, I can't go in here. He says this shul is so filled with Torah and Tefillah. There's no place for me to go in.
What's going on here?
So what's going on there? You think that a place that's filled with Torah and mitzvahs, that's right?
You have to go in there.
So Baal Shem Tov says, because it says in Zayar that when a mitzvah is done with Ava and Yira, then it's Par Chalaela, it flies up to heaven. It doesn't stay stuck down here in this world. But this shul, he says, a shul where everyone, they're learning Torah, and they're davening, but there is no lishma, they're not doing it with Avas Hashem and Yiras Hashem. So all the Torah mitzvahs remains down here, remains stuck down here, and therefore I can't go in, there's no room for me over here. And this is not, the story about the Baal Shem Tov represents really what the Baal Shem Tov came here to do. The Baal Shem Tov arrived in a world where this neshama was sorely missing when the Baal Shem Tov came on the scene. So Baal Shem Tov lived a short life, relatively. He passed away, he was 62 years old. Yeah, 62. And the whole time that he spent in a revealed way as a tzaddik was less than 26 years. 25 years and a little.
So what was he like before that?
He was a hidden tzaddik up until he was 36. He was a tzaddik nister. At that time, there were groups of tzaddikim nistarim, of hidden tzaddikim, and they were hidden tzaddikim, and they were mekubalim. Baal Shem Tov was a very holy person, but he was not revealed until he was 36 years old. At which time, from heaven, they told him that he has to reveal himself. He didn't want to. He preferred to stay at tzaddik nister his entire life, but he was told that he had to reveal himself. So he revealed himself when he was 36. He passed away. He wasn't yet 62. He was almost 62. So you make a cheshbon. So close to 26 years. And those 26 years, tens of thousands of Yidden all across Europe became attracted to the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, which is in a very short period of time, he managed to have an incredible impact on the masses, and also many Talmidei Chachamim also who became the biggest Talmidei Chachamim, who became his Talmidim. And what was the Baal Shem Tov teaching? It was really this that we're learning in this Perek over here. Baal Shem Tov was teaching that Torah mitzvahs need a neshama. What is Chassidus really is the neshama. It needs a chayis. You can't just do it. It's not enough to mechanically to go and to learn Torah. It's not enough mechanically to do mitzvahs. But Torah has to be learned, and mitzvahs has to be done with a avas Hashem and with a yiras Hashem. And therefore the Baal Shem Tov came along and said, for example, he instituted the idea of tefillah barichas, of davening at length. And something which the opponents to Chassidim, they didn't get it, and they were very opposed to that. And to them, davening barichas was bittul Torah. And
so what's considered?
Like I said, today, Baruch Hashem, there aren't really the real misnagdim anymore, because the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov has permeated everyone. The ideas of the Baal Shem Tov, the fact that you walk into a yeshiva or a beis medrash, which is of misnagdim, I'm saying quote unquote misnagdim, and you see them davening barichas and davening Shemon Esrei, that's all that didn't happen 200 years ago, 300 years ago. They ran through davening to go learn, because Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, the Iker is talking learning Torah. There's still some places where they'll do a hoicha mincha because it's bittul Torah. No hoicha Shemon Esrei.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, in some yeshivas. Yeah, they'll do by mincha. I've been there. They'll do a hoicha Shemon Esrei. The chazan does a hoicha kedusha, because to do the whole chadash hashatz is already bittul Torah. There's the idea. When I think I mentioned this in the past, that when the Alter Rebbe was arrested, so the opponents of Chassidim at that time, they wrote up a whole long letter to the government, explaining to the government why the Chassidim are a new religion, they're not Yiddishkeit, and therefore the government should do something about it, because the government didn't like new religions. And the two things that they wrote over there, we have this documented today, because actually all the documents after the Iron Curtain fell, we have the actual documents. So that the two things they said over there to prove that Chassidim aren't, it's not really Judaism, and they've gone off the path. One of them is the Chassidim are happy, and that's not a Jewish thing to be happy. Jews are supposed to be sad. I know you can't imagine. But they said that since we're in Galus, The Gemara says, "Az yimali is chaypinu that asur la'adam lamali is chaypiv b'elam hazad." That here in this world, there's no, because we're in Galus, so being happy is foreign to Yiddishkeit, and therefore that was one proof. I know it's hard for us to imagine that because we don't realize just how much the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov has impacted all Yidden, which is why I say there is no misnagdim, and I mean that. Really, there's no misnagdim, because the main idea is the Baal Shem Tov, whether it's Simcha, whether it's Tefillah, whether it's Shkacha Pratis, whether it's Avos Yisrael, all these things really have caught on. The question is, some people have it more b'pnimius, and some people have it more in a way of makif. B'pnimius means some people have studied it more and learned it more in Torah, the Baal Shem Tov, and then internalized it. By some, it was more by osmosis, they absorbed it, but everyone has absorbed really, there's no such thing today as a real misnagid. But the second thing that they wrote to the Russian government then was, the Chassidim spend a long time davening, and that's not Jewish. It's not Jewish to spend a long time davening, because by Yidden, we prioritize limud HaTorah. The problem was that Baal Shem Tov arrived on the scene in a place where you had people learning Torah. A small percentage of Yidden learning Torah, because 95% of the Yidden couldn't afford to send their kids to yeshiva, and couldn't afford to learn. It was a terrible time. It was right after, in the aftermath of the 1648, 1649 Khmelnytsky pogroms. So you had 95% of the Yidden
illiterate,
who
totally illiterate. Worse than that.
Yidden weren't illiterate. They knew what to read. They knew what to daven. They knew what to daven. They would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say Tehillim. What?
Chazor Seshab was for the people who didn't know how to read.
Right, that's times the Gemara. Back in times, the times Baal Shem Tov already. People knew. They taught the children how to read. Everyone knew how to daven. Everyone knew how to. But. Also, back then there weren't books. Like I'm saying, back in times of the Gemara. In times of Baal Shem Tov already was after the printing press. So they had Siddurim, the Chamashim, and then you had the 5% of the elite, who, by the way, there was this disconnect. They davened in their own shuls. The Talmid Chachamim, they had their own societies, and there was absolutely no neshama. They were learning Torah, but as we mentioned, all the Torah was remaining stuck in the base medrashes. The whole concept of a neshama, of Avos Hashem and Yiras Hashem didn't exist, and the Baal Shem Tov came along and says, you want your Torah to be of value, you want your Torah to have a neshama, you need to spend some time davening. You need to, because when you daven, that's when you develop your Avos Hashem, and that's when you develop your Yiras Hashem. And then when you're learning as a neshama, then it's Salka later, then your neshama can, then the limud HaTorah can go up. Sorry. There's an older chassid in Kronheitz. I used to go to his farbrengens, and he used to say a joke. So there was once a shtetl, a little city, and there was a rebbe in that city, a chassidish rebbe, and in the same city also there was a rosh yeshiva and a non-chassidish yeshiva over there. And the rebbe, there was traffic by his house 24/7. People were always coming, asking for brachas, asking him for advice, coming to see the Rebbe, to daven with the Rebbe, and the Rosh Yeshiva, a few times, twice a day, 3 times a day, someone knocking the door, asking a shayla in halacha, or asking a shayla on a taisus or a ktsas, but there wasn't the same traffic as there was by the Rebbe, and the Rosh Yeshiva felt that this was completely messed up priorities, right?
Unfair,
a lack of kavod HaTorah, because he's such a goy in olam. He knows much more how to learn than this Rebbe. Why is it everyone gives so much respect to the Rebbe, and him he doesn't have? So one day he bumped into this Rebbe, and he tells the Rebbe, I don't get it. I'm sorry, I have to tell you, to me this doesn't make any sense. People should be coming to me, and not to you. They can come to you also, but people should be coming more to me than to you. Why do they come to you so much? So the Rebbe said, the reason why they come to me is because I'm a Yidea Machshavas. I'm a mind reader. I have this special talent, so they come to me. So she says, yeah, really? You're a mind reader? I don't believe you. So she says, I'll prove it to you. Think something and I'll tell you what you're thinking. So Rosh Hashiva says, okay. So he thinks for a few moments and says to them, what was I thinking about? So he says, you were thinking about Hashem just now. Hashem says, no, it's not true. I wasn't. You're lying to me. No. Underneath what you're thinking, there was underlying you were thinking about Hashem. Hashem says, absolutely not. So the Rebbe says, and what's with Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Samid? That's why people don't go to you, or they come to me. If you can go by a few moments and you're not thinking about Hashem, then that's a...
The Rebbe gives him better answers.
Sorry, what?
The Rebbe gives better answers.
No, the point is you can know a lot of Torah, but is there neshama? Is there the halakite? Is there the kedusha? Otherwise, Torah also can be.
It develops an emotion. It's a very difficult thing to develop an emotion.
That's where. That's
so
where.
Mechanical, and you're thinking about halacha and the lumdis behind it. How do you get that emotion?
This is where davening plays a role. This is where davening. You begin the day. You begin it right. You begin with davening like you're supposed to, and you develop the ava v'yiru which you need for the entire day.
It's not that easy either.
The shaila, in other words, it's why are you learning? Is the lishma? Are you doing it l'shem shamayim? Are you doing it because of Av Hashem? That's the neshama. When you have that, then you have a Torah mitzvahs, which is beautiful. Bittul, it's all for Hashem.
So how do you say verse that shalom shmo Polish?
We'll get there.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the kind.
They say also that there was this Talmud Chacham who his expertise was in upfragging people, and refuting people. Someone would say a chiddush dvar Torah, and he was brilliant in slugging up, yeah. And after 120, so he goes up to heaven, and he comes up to Bezdin Shalmaila, and the Eibishter is there waiting, and says, "I've heard so much about your brilliance, and you're such a Talmud Chacham. Maybe share with us with the Bezdin Shalmaila dvar Torah chiddush." So he says to the Eibishter Kutchabrichu, he says, I have a better idea. Why don't you say an idea, Dvar Torah, and I'll slug you up? The idea you can be disconnected in Torah, and you can let the Eibishter say, I'll slug it up also. So this is the importance. This is the importance of Avos Hashem and Yiras Hashem. And within Avos Hashem and Yiras Hashem itself, the Alter Rebbe says, V'gam. 8 lines from the bottom. V'gam, and also Ava Levada Eina Nikras B'Shem Avoda. Love alone also wasn't enough. Bili Yirat Atah Lopachas need at least a lower level of fear. Later on in Tanya we'll talk about 2 different levels of fear. There's the lower fear and the higher fear. At the very least you need the lower level of fear. Shemu Suteres Believe Kol Yisrael. This lower level of fear is also hidden in the heart of all Yidden. As will be explained later. Because at the end of the day, you need to have a neshama. The neshama is Avos Hashem, love of Hashem, and Yiras Hashem, which is fear of Hashem. But of the two, of Avos Hashem and Yiras Hashem, Ava, love also, is not completely bituldik, is not completely bottled Hashem. Love, when you do something because you love, you're feeling yourself very strongly. So therefore, the first thing you have to start with is Yira, the lower level of Yira. Because Yira is then the neshama is a very bittuldika neshama. The kavana is completely bottled to Hashem. So until now, what are we talking about? We're talking about someone who learns Shlei Lishma. But what does Shlei Lishma means? That you're learning Torah without the correct kavana. The correct kavana is Avos Hashem and Yiras Hashem. If you don't have the correct kavana, so then you did not infuse the mitzvah with a neshama. But then there's something worse. There's something worse. Worse is not that you don't have a kavana, but you do have a kavana and you have a bad kavana. You have a bad kavana, meaning that you're infusing the mitzvah with a neshama, but a neshama of klipa. In other words, the neshama, the vitality, the spiritual element of the neshama, what's animating it is klipa inside. What if you're learning Torah, doing mitzvahs, and we're talking about the real Shlei Lishma? You're doing it for an ulterior motive. You're doing it for your own honor. You're going to Talmud Chacham. You're doing it in order to be a Talmud Chacham Kai Gavna, or something similar.
So is there a mitzvah?
This is mamish. What?
Is there a mitzvah or is no mitzvah?
Hold it, we're getting there. There's a mashpia, his name was Rabbi Nissen Nemanov. We've mentioned him in the past. They say that when he would learn Gemara, he would learn a Perek, Gemara, and when he got a daf or two before the end, he would stop and go to another Perek. Never wanted to finish a Perek. He didn't want to have the satisfaction But he finished that Perek. He wanted to learn Gemara because he wanted to learn to learn Torah for Hashem. Not that he should be able to say, "Oh look, I finished that Perek."
And make a siyum.
Make a siyum. Yeah, I'll proud of myself. Yeah, that's a heicha madrega. But that's then so the problem is like this. Remember, we said earlier. We said everything in the world hides Hashem. Everything is klipa. The only thing that isn't klipa is Torah and mitzvahs. Everything else is klipa. Now in klipa you can be klipas nega, it can be gimel klipas satmeis, but ultimately everything is klipa. Other than Torah and mitzvahs, klipa means you look at it and you don't see Hashem. When you look at Torah, you see Hashem. Hashem's chachma. You see a person doing a mitzvah. What's he doing? Hashem's ratzon, right? But everything else in the world, I don't see Hashem. I see a self. I see a mitzvah. I see an identity, and that's the definition of klipa. We have the ability to take Torah, to take a mitzvah, and drag it down into klipa. Meaning what? That I'm using the Torah and the mitzvah
as a vehicle
for my ego. That's the ultimate klipa. Again, you're high. It's not the whole Torah mitzvah is about Hashem. Torah is Hashem's chachma. Torah is Hashem's ratzon. A mitzvah is doing Hashem's ratzon. It's all about Hashem. Now, if I don't have any kavana, so the Torah mitzvah is about Hashem. If I don't have a lishma, but if I don't have a bad kavana, so I didn't harm the act of the mitzvah. I just didn't give it the neshama. I didn't give it a neshama of Avos Hashem and Yiras Hashem. But if I do it for the wrong reasons, then what I've actually done is taken this act, which essentially is holy, essentially is kaddish, Torah mitzvahs, and I pulled it down into klipa, because right now, why am I learning Torah? Not because of Hashem, because of me. That's ultimate klipa. Klipa means something that hides Hashem. The truth is that everything is batal to Hashem. Everything is for Hashem. The only place in the world where that's really revealed is Torah mitzvahs, and we have the ability, if we act silly, to take Torah and to pull it down into klipa. So there again, there are three levels over here. Level number one is learning Torah Lishma. Then you take a mitzvah and Torah, which is beautiful, and you add to it the neshama. Level number two is no neshama, in which case the mitzvah stays down here because you didn't give it the spiritual identity. Level number three is you're actually pulling it down into klipa. Azai, then, 5 lines in the bottom, page 106, then, Oisa Piniya Shemitzada Klipa, that ulterior motive, which is a klipa motive, which is part of klipas noiga, mislabeshes b'tirase. It goes into the Torah. V'Torah b'chinas galus b'techa klipa. The Torah is in galus. Torah, Hashem's wisdom, Hashem's Torah, right? This is Hashem's crown jewel. L'fisha, temporarily, ad sheyaseh tshuva, until he does tshuva, shemevir refuah la'ilam, which brings refuah to the world. Shebeshuvah el Hashem, when you do tshuva, gam tirasa yishavi imay, also the Torah will return. Now it's famous, it's known that the Baal Shem Tov, again, whose yahrzeit we're about to celebrate or to observe, he loved the Anashim Pshutim. He loved the simple Yidden. Loved them. And there's some stories about this. There's Fidik Rebbe writes how the Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov were once wondering why he's so being mekarev, the simple Yidden. If I remember correctly, it was Shalosh Shudas, and at that the Shalosh Shudas meal, only the big Chashivit Talmidim were allowed in, and the simple Yidden weren't allowed into that. But the Baal Shem Tov felt that his Talmidim were wondering, why is it that he's so mekarev, not by this meal, but the whole time, the whole Shabbos, why is he so mekarev the Pashta Yidden? And the Baal Shem Tov, he, if I remember correctly, asked them to sing a niggin. And then he put his hands on one hand on the shoulder of the Talmud on this side, one hand on the shoulder of the Talmud on this side, and he asked the Talmidim to create a chain. Each person should put their hands over the shoulders of the one next to them. And suddenly they all started hearing this incredibly sweet sound of people praising Hashem. It was filled with beauty and sweetness, and they all started crying from hearing this incredible, beautiful tefillas. And the Baal Shem Tov took off his hands and said, I just allowed you to hear a little what's going on in the next room, where the Pashto Yidden are saying, Tilim, this is what it sounds like in heaven. What you just heard now, you got a little picture of what it sounds like in heaven. And it's known, the Baal Shem Tov had a lot of affection for the simple Yidden, and the question is, what is the advantage of a simple Yid over a Talmid Chacham?
You say simple Yid means in Amor?
Yeah, these people didn't learn. They couldn't learn. And again, it's not. This is a very, very difficult time. It's not the time. They were 6 years old. They were already an apprentice to a blacksmith or to a shoemaker. Yeah, it wasn't.
People in shul tell me that.
Terrible poverty at that time. Most of the Yidden, the elite, were able to afford to send their kids to be able to have a higher education than Torah. The rest was basics. Again, you'd learn how to read, Aleph, Beis, maybe the basic Chumash, and that was it. So the question is, the Baal Shem Tov loved them, the simple people. Why did he love them so much? Because they didn't learn Torah. You wanted to say that the Baal Shem Tov loved also the Anashim Shutim, he loved also the simple Yidden. Loved also the simple Yidden. Okay, it's obviously sold to everyone, and therefore he loved the Talmidei Chachamim, and he loved also the simple Yidden because they're Yidden, they have Neshamas, that I can take. But to say that he had a special Chavivus, he especially loved the simple Yidden, what is their advantage? What was it that he looked at them and said, oh, you didn't learn Shas, so you're special? How does that make sense?
He won't be special. He's equivalent even to.
No, but that's not the point. It's not that
he didn't have the opportunity.
Again, I said if
little amount they like a full day's
if the Baal Shem Tov loved them also, then I have no question. But it's very clear from the stories about the Baal Shem Tov and everything that's said about the Baal Shem Tov, it wasn't that he also loved them. He had a special love for them. And the Nakuda is, this is what we're talking about over here. That the Talmidei Chacham of the time, they were big Talmidei Chachamim and they learned a lot of Torah and everything. But ultimately, it was all about themselves. It was all ego. And they were, as a rule, this was what was prevalent at that time. I'm sure there were exceptions. I'm not saying every single one of them, but as a rule, this was the way it was in Eastern Europe at that time. These people were full of themselves. They looked down and with a disdain at the Amei Aretz, at the ignorant people, and their learning Torah was they're taking the Torah and pulling it down into Klippa, as the Alter Rebbe says over here. Because when you learn Torah and it's for the own kavod and it's not lishma, it's not with Av Hashem, it's not with Yiras Hashem. And as the Gemara says that when a person is a Baal Gaiva, Hashem says Ein anivu yichem lader, right? A Baal Gaiva is the ultimate Klippa. He said, you're pushing me away. You're not allowing me in. What do you mean? How do we allow Hashem in? We do a mitzvah with bittul. We do a mitzvah with Avos Hashem, or with Yiras Hashem, with bittul Hashem. We allow Hashem in. But when we do but when we're arrogant, and even the Torah mitzvahs that we're doing is also with arrogance, we're not allowing any place for Hashem in. And the Baal Shem Tov saw this purity, this bittul by the simple Yidden, and he saw that by them the mitzvahs, they weren't the biggest Talmidei Chachamim at all. But when they did a mitzvah, it was with the kavanah was correct. The kavanah was with Avos Hashem. The kavanah was with Yiras Hashem. They were broken people. They didn't have any ego or any gaiva because they had nothing to have ego about. Again, they were broken people, spiritually broken people. They couldn't learn Gemara and they couldn't understand the Tilim they were saying they couldn't understand. They were physically broken people. What did they have? They had their Avos Hashem, they had their Yiras Hashem, and that's something which the Baal Shem Tov so was mechaviv, even more so than the Torah of the big Talmidei Chacham at the time. However, says the Alter Rebbe, back to Tanya, so you're going to say, so since I'm still learning Torah and I'm doing it for the wrong reasons, I'm doing it for egotistical reasons, so maybe I should stop learning. And maybe I should stop doing mitzvahs. So there's the Alter Rebbe knows. Alter Rebbe says that when you do tshuva, tshuvas maybe refuah lo'elam. Chazal tell us tshuva brings refuah to this world. And therefore, when you do tshuva, you heal all the Torah that you learned beforehand improperly, and all the mitzvahs that you did improperly. And therefore, Chazal say, that a person should always do Torah mitzvahs. Why? Because eventually you'll start doing it lishma. Bivadai, certainly. And this is very important, because if there wasn't that certainty that you're going to do tshuva, then you taka shouldn't learn Torah. If you're doing it for the wrong reasons. If you realize what you're doing, that you're taking Hashem's Torah, this is the crown jewel of everything, right? The chemda genuza, Hashem's the most precious thing that there is, and you're taking it and you're putting it in the toilet bowl, putting it in klipa by you learning it in the wrong way. If you're not certain that you're going to do tshuva one day, don't learn Torah. How can you do that? How can you do that to Hashem's Torah? But Chazal tell us, Lo'ilam Yasagadam, you should learn Torah, do mitzvahs, even though it's Shalei Lashma. Why? Shemetech Shalei Lashma, Baal Shem Tov Library. Because certainly you're going to come to do Lashma, meaning you're going to do tshuva. And therefore, do it now, even for the wrong reasons, because when you do tshuva, you'll retroactively heal and fix and elevate that Torah, which right now is in Klippa.
What's the guarantee he's going to do tshuva?
Shebevadai seifei lasis tshuva. There's no question, there's no doubt.
Why?
That you will do tshuva. Begilgul zeh, begilgul acher. Whether it's in this Gilgul, whether in this lifetime or another lifetime. Why? Ki lo yidach mimenu nidach. Because the pasuk says in Shmuel that the Eibishter v'chishev machshaves. The Eibishter, he made plans that levilti yidach mimenu nidach, that no yid should remain, a nidach should remain pushed away.
Should remain
Nidach, pushed away, should remain
separated, rejected.
yeah, rejected.
Here's the one that says rejected.
What do you mean rejected?
Yeah.
From
By Hashem.
By the Eibishter. Everyone does tshuva then. By Chassidim, they say that there was a chassid whose name was the Rashbatz. He was called the Reb Shmuel Betzalel. He was a teacher of the Frierdiker Rebbe. He was a chassid of the Tzemach Tzedek still, and he later became a teacher of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And they say that when he used to teach this Perek, when he reached these words, he would cry, and he would say, "Kinderlach, kinderlach, children, children, we're gonna do tshuva. We may as well already do it now. Why are we pushing it off? It's gonna happen. By hook or by crook, we will do tshuva, so why delay it?"
You don't want to wait for another Gilgal to do it. Do it now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and what's the assurances that he'll do tshuva in a different lifetime? I mean, unless he brings Yisurim or Machalis, he breaks him down. HaKadosh Baruch Hu breaks him down in different ways, and he destroys his ego altogether.
There are some people who play the stock market, and they gamble. Some people win. Some people play the stock market and they gamble and they lose. Can you imagine the Eibishter Hashem playing the stock market and losing? You are Hashem's stock market. Hashem gambled on you. And Hashem doesn't fail. Hashem doesn't lose. What I'm saying now is a very deep idea. If there is a Yid who doesn't do tshuva, that means that the Eibishter failed. The Eibishter invested in something, and the Eibishter wanted it to work, and it didn't work. It failed. And that's not something that we can accept. Every Yid has a neshama.
My Rebbe's with, I think.
And every single Yid is going to do tshuva, because Hashem invested in every single Yid, and every single Yid got a neshama, and every single Yid has a mission, and the Eibishter gets his way eventually. We can't destroy the Eibishter's plans. What we could do is delay Hashem's plans, because Hashem l'chatchila, you could decide to do it today, you could decide to do it tomorrow, but you do not have the option not to do it, because Hashem's will happen. Kol asher chafetz Hashem asa, whatever Hashem desires is going to happen. And Hashem created you for a reason, for a purpose. As we discussed in earlier prakim, it's not that Hashem created and says, okay, you know what, I'll make how many millions of Yidden? I'll make 50 million Yidden, 60 million Yidden. And this way, if most of them do good, then we're fine. Then my plan for the creation of the world happens. Remember, we learned earlier in Tanya, it doesn't work that way. Every single Yid has their own job. And you're going to have to do your job. And the whole world is waiting for you. The Mashiach is waiting for you to do your job. And you're going to do it, and you're going to do tshuva. Now, it's up to you to decide when. But tshuva you will do. That's one nekudah. But there's another nekudah. You're doing tshuva over an avera. Why did you do the avera?
Ruach Shtus.
Ruach Shtus. Why did Hashem allow you to have that Ruach Shtus?
He gave you free will. So
Why did He give you free will?
you shouldn't have Namat Kesufa. Should earn your mitzvahs.
Okay, and what if you didn't?
Big problem.
Hashem created the world and He gave you free choice, and it's a win-win situation. For Him, it's a win-win situation. If you do mitzvahs, that's great. You're a tzaddik. And if you do averos, even better. It means now the Eibishter is going to have a Baal Tshuva. And b'mak mich Baal Tshuva emdim, ein tzaddikim gemurim yichelim lamed sham. And that's the reason why a person has the ability to do an avera, because in order to allow the person to be able to do tshuva, and that's the kavana. That's the kavana. The reason why Hashem created the possibility of averos is in order to enable and allow the idea of a Baal Tshuva. So what happens? A person who did Averis and didn't do Tshuva, and he's doing more Averis. All that means is now he can become a bigger Baal Tshuva. That's all I mean. Every Avera a person does drags him lower. The lower you are, you read the Tzedach Aliyah, and you do Tshuva, you become even greater. So of course you're going to do Tshuva. Of course you're going to do Tshuva, because that's why you were able to do an Avera. It's because the Eibishter, there's the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, and we spoke about it once. Lipadam and Harashoim, that the Eibishter created the world Basar Amaris. And reason number one is Lipadam and Harashoim, which means to take payment from the Rishoim. And what is the payment that Hashem takes from the Rishoim? It's Tshuva. And then, the Shema Abdin So'ilam, the Baal Tshuvas, they destroy the world. They destroy the Helen. They destroy the whole hiddenness of the world. And so the fact that a person has done Averis and done more Averis and more Averis, it's only a raya that it's about time. In other words, time has come to start doing Tshuva. And obviously this doesn't mean that a person should go do Averis, Chas v'shalom. We have to do mitzvahs only. But at the end of the day, we have to know that the purpose of Averis, even though the Eibishter allowed for that possibility, even though the Eibishter doesn't like Averis. Let's be very clear. The Eibishter doesn't like Averis, and the Averis are bad, and the Averis are painful. But the reason why the Eibishter allowed for that ability, for that possibility, is in order to be able to do Tshuva. So therefore, when learning Torah, we're doing mitzvahs, even if it's for the wrong reasons, even if you're taking the Torah mitzvahs and lowering it to klipa, but still keep on doing it. Don't stop, because ultimately you'll do Tshuva. You will do Tshuva, and then you will pull that Torah, you'll pull up with you. By the way, there is an exception to this rule. To this rule, it's brought on Shulchan Aruch, I believe it's from a Tosfos, about learning Shalei Lishma, and that is that to learn Lekanter, if a person is learning Torah, and the purpose of the Torah, the purpose of learning, is to be able to put someone else down. To be able to use that knowledge you have, to be able to argue with someone else, and to show your superiority over someone else, then we don't say this rule of La'ilam Yasak Adam B'Torah Shalei Lishma, Shemetech Shalei Lishma Ba'al Lishma, but here we say, don't learn. Don't learn. Go do tshuva and then learn Torah.
Better to be an Amoritz.
Better to be Amoritz than not to learn Torah for the reason of the content.
Because the Averis is like a Chil Hashem.
Sinas Yisrael. There's nothing worse than that.
They look down on people.
Yeah. So this again is if you're learning Torah Mamash for the reasons of you're pulling it down into klipa. However, if you're learning Torah doing mitzvah stam, it's not lishma, it's not shalei lishma. Like we mentioned earlier, mitzvah sanashim ulamada, you're doing a mitzvah mechanically. So then ein adavar tali b'shuva. Then you don't have to do tshuva. As soon as you go back and you learn that same thing, you learn the lishma. Also that which you learned earlier on, without lishma. In other words, when you learned it without without any kavana, not a positive kavana, not a negative kavana. So mischaber u'mitztarif l'limud zeh. So that which you learned earlier now gets get combined with what you're learning now. And it flies to heaven. Because there is no klipa on there. And because there is no klipa on there, so there's nothing really tying it down. So it doesn't require tshuva, but it just requires relearning that same thing once again, lishma. By the way, interestingly, so if you learn something with bad kavana, so then you have to do tshuva. If you didn't do it with a bad kavanah, you just didn't have lishma, then it's enough to relearn that same thing, relearn it lishma, and then it goes up. But if you do tshuva, you don't have to relearn it. Tshuva drags it, just the tshuva alone drags it up. Tshuva maybe before la'elam. But if, in the case when you didn't do it lishma, but you didn't do it also not lishma, then you don't need tshuva, but you do have to relearn it, and this time learn it for the proper reasons. And therefore, and therefore a person should always learn, even if it's shlei lishma, in other words, even if you don't have the proper kavanah, because you'll relearn it afterwards, and then you'll pull it back up. And the same thing says the Alter Rebbe, as when it comes b'tfilah shalei b'kavanah, when it comes to davening without kavanah, Commission is bar b'zayir, as explained on Zayir. And also when it comes to davening without kavanah, when we say without kavanah, again, we have to be clear, we don't mean without pirush hamilas. But a person who daven without Avos Hashem, without Yiras Hashem, so that when you go and you read daven, when you say those, let's say you did Ashrei, you daven without Kavana, Ashrei, so if you next day you daven Ashrei with the Kavana, with Lishma, with Avos Hashem and Yiras Hashem, then you also lift up that tefillah of yesterday. And in Kunter Sachrin, the Alter Rebbe says something interesting. He says that from the Arizal, he says that if you daven not lishma, you didn't not for bad reasons, but you didn't daven, didn't have the Avos Hashem and Yiras Hashem. So if you have one davening throughout the entire year, if Hashem can put together one davening which is lishma, in other words, in one day or 1 month you said hoidu lishma, another time you said the racham lishma, another time you said the bracha another time Aleinu. If throughout the year Hashem can
put it together,
cobble together one full tefillah which is lishma, that gathers together all the rest of the tefillahs of the entire year which weren't lishma, and the whole thing goes up together to Shamayim, because there is no klipa there, because it wasn't done for the wrong reason. That's what Rebbe explains later on in Kunter Sachrin. So with this we finish Perek Lametes, and the Nakuda over here again is a very strong Nakuda, the importance we have over here, which is again very much connected to the Baal Shem Tov, the importance of when we're doing mitzvahs and learning Torah, and we have to remember, yes, that even though the Taka HaMaisa wa Iker, the main thing is the Maisa, and without the Maisa mitzvah, and without the learning Torah, there's nothing, but at the same time, the Kavanah Lishma gives it a neshama, it's very important, and certainly not to have a Kavanah, which is the opposite of Lishma, a Kavanah which is for oneself. Anyways, to end off on a positive note, everyone should have a good Shabbos and a good Yom Tov. And as the Rebbe would always say, have a Kabbalah HaTorah b'simcha u'b'pnimiyas. And just the Rebbe always would speak about the importance of on the first day of Shavuos by the Kriyas HaTorah, that everyone should be there. Obviously, we're going to be there, but also men, women, and also even little children. That's something the Rebbe spoke about very often. So if anyone here knows of a man or a woman or a child that needs some encouragement, and be told that this Sunday morning there will be a Kabbalah HaTorah once again, and Hashem will be giving the Torah, we have to come to shul to hear it. So if you know someone, it's a big zchus to be able to encourage the person to find the shul and come and hear the Aseret Sedivros.